So today I want to share, Rabbi Shimon said, the righteous man is the foundation of the world, Tzaddik Yisod Olam. And he also said he had a Bechad Katirana Esketrana, which I believe is Aramaic, for he had a perfect bond with Hashem. I want to balance the phone even though it's plugged into the charger. I'll try it out. Hopefully it will work out. All right, for now, okay. So, I like this idea that, like, when you go really deep inside yourself and find that pillar, the foundation, the most solid place that can't be taken away, that can't be changed. It's almost passive. And because it's so perfect, it's like such a responsible, like bond, like with the oneness, with the presence. It doesn't even really know anything. It's kind of like, anyway, like in other words, it has to be so true that it's almost never, it's like so pristine, so potent, so absolutely infinitely compressed that it's not something that we draw on, because it's almost like why there are peels, why there are names, why there are forms. Anyway, so now I want to share, there's this publication called Call to Action by teachings from the Lubavitcher rebbe, and I want to share a few things in there. First of all, the virtue of being uncomplicated, which is in a similar thread, right? To know him truly, if I were to know him, I would be him. Because of their innocent purity, this is more readily accepted by young children, as is indicated. And this point, this perfect bond, this purity. So, as indicated by the expression, to pray with the approach of a child, where a child has no knowledge of supernal attributes or the chain-like manifestation of the various worlds and the like. Rather, he prays directly to the very essence of Hashem himself. Similarly to the Alter Rebbe's expression in his own prayers, which is the first Lubavitcher rebbe, during which he'd exclaim, "Who do I have in heaven beside?" In parentheses, say, "Besides you," he's talking to God. "And with you I do not desire," and in parentheses, "anything else," because he's talking to God, "on earth. I desire nothing but you alone." On the other hand, we also need to explain, to adult members of the quote-unquote wise and understanding nation, that due to their efforts in comprehending everything with their intellect, accompanied with a goodly balance of reasoning, their personal take on the matter, as well as rational explanations received from teachers and friends, and certainly from students, they must be extra cautious to prevent their intellect from acting as a concealing factor that obscures the purity and the true essence of the matter. So, speaking of this, like, maturity and, the idea of, like, purity and maturity, and how we, like, want the purity, but we also want the maturity, right? So it's, Rav Yitzchak Ginsburg in Wonders is a publication, or in Hebrew it's called Gal Einai. So he shares that frogs go through 4 stages of metamorphosis as well as butterflies. Metamorphosis is, interestingly, in Hebrew is called Gilgul, which is like reincarnation. So a frog is an egg, then a tadpole, which is called Rishon, which is kind of like a head, so it's sort of like a beginner, and then a froglet, and then an adult frog. The frog tells the story, by the way, of ascent and descent, like it's going up and then it comes down. Anyway, the caterpillar is the butterfly, the egg, the larva. Sorry, not the caterpillar, the butterfly. So you have an egg. Then you have larva caterpillar, which is zachal, and then you have the second womb, the chrysalis, which in Hebrew is interestingly called Iber Sheni, the second pregnancy. And then you get a butterfly, which is par. Life forms that go through metamorphosis are, in a sense, reincarnated. They return to non-being, as it were. Let's say we'll call that like so it's like this essence is almost like, we could say we want to be non-being in the essence, just to not, I don't want to say even contaminate or infiltrate or dilute or filter it, but just to not maybe it's corrupt, but to not even refine it. Like, so the purity and maturity of essence, really, like the idea that in Kabbalah it's described as removing a form and donning a form. Posha tzura velovish tzura. This is the power of the sphere of wisdom. So to have a constant form is related to the sphere of understanding. While understanding is considered the root of steady being, like a beingness, wisdom is the source of non-being. So wisdom is like chachma, we call it non-being, and then bina would be the root of steady being. It's almost like the masculine shining out is a little bit above rational, right? Wisdom, it's like non-being, and then it comes into steady being, like it takes a form, takes donning a form. Form, like builds a form, is from, so it's like, it goes into the form. So to be able to to have a constant form is understanding. It's already has a form. Before that, where the form is less steady, it's a state of nothingness that separates any two states of being from one to the other, right? So thus it is the sphere of wisdom that we associate with the transformations that occur during metamorphosis. In fact, in Kabbalah, because they go from one state of being to another state of being through non-being. And the Arizal names 4 stages. The Arizal is our primary Kabbalah scholar for a lot of these teachings that we're able to still learn to the Kabbalah community. We would say like Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai the Zohar, and then since then it's the Arizal, right? And we have it's called Lurianic Kabbalah because the Rebbe Isaac Luria. So anyway, Arizal is like the holy lion, the blessed memories, the Zechron Levracha. So he names 4 stages of development, which correspond. First immaturity, first maturity. So first you have Ketanot Aleph. So Ketanot is like little ones, like small ones. And Ketanot Aleph, first immaturity. Then you have Gadlos Aleph, which is first maturity. Then you have second immaturity, Ketanos Beis, and Beis is 2, and second maturity, which is Gadlos Beis. The second immaturity is considered like the second gestation period, the Iber Sheni. The soul matures, and if a Hasidic language, through 4 stages: faith, emunah, knowing reality, which is Yedias Hametzias, and confidence, bitachon, and seeing the essence, Reis Hamhos. When all the I'm translating to the Hebrew. When all the potentials for future development is hidden, we require faith. The second stage arrives when we already have some familiarity with reality. Interesting. It's impossible to completely know and understand reality when we first reach maturity, but it's possible to have a knowledge of reality. Oops. Let me reread that sentence. I got distracted. Okay. It's impossible to completely know and understand reality when we first reach maturity, but it's possible to have a knowledge of reality, the way it presents itself externally. It would thus seem that we have matured and achieved our goal in life. However, when further growth and development becomes possible, we can enter a second gestation period. And a second stage of immaturity. When this happens, it doesn't indicate a return to faith, but it's gotta be a better way. Maybe I'll unplug it for just the rest of the video. Okay. When this happens, it doesn't indicate a return to faith, but a more solid state of confidence in God that when we emerge from this second womb, we will have matured even more. In our second immaturity, we remember our knowledge of reality, and what residual knowledge translate into psychological confidence. That residual knowledge translated into psychological confidence in life and in God. It's like a kind of maturity. The final stage is, in a sense, a reincarnation, which manifests as an ability to grasp or see the essence underlying reality. And I think we'll stop here. All the best. Bye.